Okay, are we ready?
Yeah, you can show your screen.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskachade Shatarane. So thank you all very much. We're February 25th, 2024. Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Most appreciated. Thank you. And we're going to be looking at two meditations, one from the Bhagavatam and one from the Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Rupa Goswami says that we should always what? Always remember Krishna and never forget him. Is that so easy? No, because we're generally thinking about the input from our senses. We're generally thinking about what I see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and so on. Correct? Yes? And even when we have our special time to think about Krishna, it may be difficult. So it's very interesting that when Krishna tells Arjuna that it's important what we think about, because whatever we think about, we become. Does anyone know that verse? 8:6. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam twajachante kalevaram tam tam eva tikonteya tadas bhava bhavitaha. Whatever we think about, we become. So you might think that then right after that, Krishna would say, well, just sit in the Himalayas or sit at the bank of Radhakund and just think of me. But right after that, he says, Mam anusmaram yujyacha. He says, think of me while you are fighting. So this is, of course, should I have? Okay, yesterday you had me unmute. My computer speaker turn off? Okay, well, let's try that. Let's try that. Nah, it doesn't do any good.
You switch off the speakers.
The speaker switched off right there.
You unmute.
You want me to mute? Okay, but then, can anybody hear me on Zoom? Can you hear me on Zoom or not? Because yesterday when I was muted on Zoom, nobody could hear me. I can unmute now. Okay. All right, now it's no it's echoing. So what should we do? Yeah, just, okay? Now, it's okay? All right. Very good. Okay, but I need to be spotlighted. Who's the host? Can you spotlight my video? Is it possible to spotlight my video? Sandeep, have you spotlighted it? You have? Yes? No? Working on it? It's not spotlighted. Okay. I mean, no, that's not it. It's not properly spotlighted. Well, it should be, anyway. If anyone's watching, it's probably not spotlighted, but that's all right. We'll just leave it as it is. So right after Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smam brahman pradachante kalevaram tam tame vatikonteya sadatad bhava bhavita, right after he says, whatever you think about, you become, right after that, he says, Mam anusmaram yujacha. Think of me while you're fighting. Think of me in your work day. Dedicate everything to me. Have everything absorbed in me. So there's a lot of instructions in the Bhagavad Gita as to how to do that, and also a lot of instructions in the Bhagavatam. So first we're going to go through the Bhagavatam as to how we can think of Krishna in our daily life. And this is based on, of course, the second canto and the eighth canto, but particularly we're going to be meditating on this verse by Queen Kunti, where Krishna's right in front of her, and she calls him the personality of the form of the universe, the Lord of the universe, the soul of the universe, and the personality of the form of the universe. Now, in our Krishna Meditations book, which we have back there, we have a number of quotes from Shastra, from our Acharyas, from Srila Prabhupada. And in one place, Srila Prabhupada says that if you practice to think like this, there will be no more material world. Now, of course, we'll still physically be in this world. Our bodies will still get hurt and sick and die. But we will not experience that we're being in the material world. And in one lecture, Srila Prabhupada makes this point 3 times. He says, there'll be no material world, there'll be no material world, there'll be no material world. So what do you think? Does that sound okay? Yay? Everybody ready? Okay. So I'm going to go first through the Bhagavatam and then through the Bhagavad Gita. So after the Bhagavatam one, I'm going to be asking each of you to let me know which one of these you're going to meditate on this week. So you might want to take some notes on a paper or on your phone as to which one of these, pick like maybe 2 or 3, and then let me know. We're going to ask everyone at the end what you chose. Okay, yeah, I'm still not getting spotlighted here, and it's definitely annoying, but anyway, what to do? So first we learn that the Lord's mouth is where the voice comes from, and it's full of fire. So in the Bhagavatam, it says that Sudarshan is the master of speech. And if we think about speech and fire, right? Proper speech, it illuminates, it purifies, it destroys ignorance. And improper speech can also be like fire, right? It can be harsh. And whenever we are speaking on behalf of the Lord, our speech will be the good elements of fire, that which is illuminating and purifying and destroying of ignorance. His skin is the Vedic hymns. So whenever we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, whenever we are Sandeep, Hey, it's not working. Sandeep Prabhu. No, I'm still not spotlighted. Did it ever show my screen?
Apparently somebody tried to spotlight your video and then it took over from the presentation.
Well, I don't know who this somebody is. The only people on this call are me, Mahalakshmi, and the temple here. So there's no somebody. Okay, but okay. Thank you. So his skin is the Vedic hymns, which means whenever we are chanting the Hare Krishna mantra or any Vedic mantra, we are touching the skin of the Lord. So that is a really nice thing to meditate on. And the Vedic hymns are also his cerebral passage. So the Vedas are the brains of any spiritual community, the spiritual knowledge of that tradition. And without the Vedas, our community doesn't have any flow of awareness and cannot function. Just like in the body, one needs a flow of awareness from the brain. And his words are producing all the Vedas. So of course we know the Gita itself is the Lord's words, but all of the Vedic literatures are the Lord's speaking. Now this is really a cool one to meditate on, that all food comes from his tongue. Whatever we're eating, like our tongue accepts food and his tongue produces food. And Krishna wants us to share our food. So the food that's produced in the Lord's tongue, that is for sharing with others. Like yesterday we talked about the benefit of charity. Now all rasa, all tastes, all pleasures come from the Lord's tongue. So anything that is rasa, any kind of pleasure, is actually coming from Krishna's tongue. And on his lips is greed. So our lips can be greedy. We're greedy to talk too much. We're greedy to eat too much. What's Krishna greedy for? Love. What does he say as Giriraj? Give me more, give me more. Aniyor, aniyor. So his smelling generates all kinds of medicinal herbs. Yeah? So, you know, whenever you are using different herbs in your cooking or you're making some kind of herbal tea, that scent, that smell, that flavor of the herbs is coming from the Lord's smelling. And from his breathing, from his nostrils, comes the wind. So just like the wind brings different changes of weather and different changes in our lives, that is the breathing of the Lord. And his nostrils are generating our breathing. So just like our bodies are full of many cells, correct? We have skin cells and heart cells and muscle cells, and they all have to breathe. Every single cell in our body has to breathe. And every cell in our body can only breathe when we breathe. So when I breathe, that's allowing each individual cell to breathe. Similarly, it's only because the Lord is breathing that we are able to breathe. And material fragrance is his sense of smell. Is it possible to turn off just one bank of lights here? Is that possible? That way. All right, there's enough light. You can all still see me, yeah? Yeah, okay, that's better. Yeah, okay. Good, yeah, that's much better. So just like my breath has some smell, but maybe it's not a nice smell, right? So people are sucking on so many mints and things. But Krishna's smell is producing all of these different smells. Yeah. And the air is his breath. This is a really like this particular meditation. You know, in English we have the two words, air and breath. Just like when somebody dies, their breath becomes air. And we think of air as just inert gases and breath as something living. But actually all of the air is Krishna's breathing. And so the air is full of Krishna's prana. So when we are breathing, we are actually breathing in Krishna's breath. Then his eyes create all the forms. So my eyes are seeing forms, but his eyes create forms. Right? We know this whole cosmos came into existence because the Lord glanced at it. Now, I can't do that. I can't look at this desk and go, cheesecake, you know. But that's what he does. He looks at everything, and therefore it comes into being. This is something Srila Prabhupada talks about a lot, how the sun is Krishna's eyes. Huh? And just like if we have a relationship with someone, we make eye contact. Whenever I'm seeing the sun and Venus, Jupiter, and so forth, I'm actually making eye contact with the Lord and establishing a relationship. Then his eye pits, right? His eye sockets. So my eye sockets are kind of gross and morbid, right? But Krishna's eye sockets, they're full of wonder. They're full of outer space. And his eyeball is the sun, which is the power of seeing. So again, Prabhupada makes this point very often, that we can only see because Krishna sees first. If Krishna doesn't see first with the sun, I cannot see anything. Even all of our artificial light is deriving its energy from the sun. And this is a fun one. So his eyelids are day and night. So when his eyes are open, it's day, and when they're closed, it's night. So when we wake up in the morning, Krishna's opening his eyes. When we go to sleep at night, he's closing his eyes. This is one I meditate on pretty much every day. That the twilight, the sunrise, and the sunset are the movements of Krishna's clothes in the sky. So Nitya and I were talking today about the color of Krishna's clothing. And we know that Krishna likes to wear this kind of yellow, saffron-y, orangey, yellowish clothing. And of course his form is dark blue. So when you see the sun rising and setting, this is Krishna's clothing going through the sky. And on his neck are the sound vibrations. So sometimes we see birds, when they make sounds, they're moving their neck, yeah? And his ears hear everything, but especially the Vedas. Just like in a crowded room with a lot of noise, we especially hear somebody calling our name. This is another one that I really like to meditate on, how all kinds of sound are coming from Krishna's ears. Whatever we hear, the sounds of the cars, the sounds of the birds, the sound of the clanging of pots in the kitchen, all of those are coming from Krishna's ears. In his steps is yajna. This is particularly havyam karma bihi, or the yajna offering of our worldly responsibilities. So we talked yesterday about career dharma, how to have our livelihood be a part of our devotional service, how to have our livelihood be part of yajna. And that is accomplished by the Lord's steps. When we dedicate our work to him, he is moving through our life. In his touch is lusty desires. So this is something I remember whenever I avoid touching someone. So I read, this is a true story. I read about, there was this meeting of Catholic religious, And there was a nun was going into a room while a monk was coming out, and their skin didn't even touch, just their clothing. And from that, they got married a month later. So whenever I'm like avoiding, that's a true story. Whenever I'm like kind of avoiding touching someone, I think about this. This is another one of my favorites to meditate on. So all vegetation is his hairs. How beautiful each of the Lord's hairs must be. So there's so many beautiful plants and flowers in the world. And as I look at each of them, I'm thinking, oh, this is one of Krishna's hairs. This is one of Krishna's hairs. This is one of Krishna's hairs. And all the trees are his hairs. You know how sometimes there'll be a little bug walking on our arm? Yeah? And you can feel it walking on the hairs of your arm. So whenever I walk in the trees, so yesterday Murari and I had a long walk. We were walking through many, many trees, and I kept thinking about this, how I'm walking on the body of the Lord, and these trees are his hairs, and just feel so close and connected. Then the clouds are the hairs on his head. So of course Krishna's hair is generally described as dark, and there are often dark clouds that carry the rain, but sometimes the clouds are white. So when is Krishna's hair described as white? Probably in the moonlight. But think about in the Bhagavatam. There's two places in the Bhagavatam where Krishna's hair is described as white. One in the 1st canto, one in the 10th canto. The one in the 1st canto is in chapter 9. No. Good guess, though. Yes. Exactly. So what was happening? But you know the chapter, okay. So I was with Bhishma Dev, yeah? And what did Bhishma Dev say? Hare Krishna. What did he say? How Krishna's hair appeared whitish when what? Oh, and Krishna was running toward Bhishma Dev with the chariot wheel, and the dust from the battlefield was getting in his hair. So there's another example in the 10th canto of dust. What example is that? With the cows, yes. What time of the day? Evening, yes, when Krishna's coming back to the village. So when we see the whitish clouds in the sky, we remember how Krishna returns to the village with the cows, or how he's running on the battlefield. On hairs are all of the drugs and herbs. So we know what it's like to feel sick, and we take some medicine and we feel better. Everyone's experienced this? So that is because these medicines are actually the hairs on the Lord's body, and their fragrance is his what? The fragrance of the herbs is his breathing. He's breathing on them, and from his breath. So whenever we're using different medicines, that potency is the Lord breathing on his hairs. On his nails is electricity. So whenever you turn on, actually, Rasayan, can you get me an open Krishna meditations, please? Whenever we turn on the lights, whenever you turn on your phone, that is the touch of Krishna's nails. Oh, thank you. And then on his nails are also the horse, the mule, the camel, and the elephant. So these are all working animals. Of course, we don't use them very much nowadays. But just like our nails are tools, so on Krishna's nails are the working animals. On his nails are all the stones. Now, I remember this whenever I see anybody with painted nails. People paint their nails to look like rubies or emeralds or whatever. But Krishna's nails actually are all the stones. And the wild animals are on his belt. So your belt is very functional. It holds up your clothing. In the same way, the wild animals hold up the ecosystem. So have any of you seen that video about Yellowstone and the wolves? Anybody seen that video? No? You have, okay. 2 people. So it's like 14, 15 minutes on YouTube, and you can look up wolves in Yellowstone. So originally all the wolves in Yellowstone had been killed or relocated, and then they reintroduced one pack of wolves. From that one pack of wolves, the whole ecosystem changed. Grassland became forest, the movements of the rivers changed, new animals came into the park, because this is the belt zone of the Lord. His lotus feet give us protection from all kinds of fear. So I was really thinking about this yesterday. We were taking a walk. We went down, Mari and I went down this steep incline, and it was wet. So you really, and there were tree roots there. And so you really had to watch where you were walking. Yeah, you really, really had to be careful. Where do I put my feet? Because our feet are giving us stability and a sense of protection. And so as I was taking those steps there, I was meditating on how Krishna's feet give us protection from all kinds of fear. So then the Lord's genitals are producing the rains. Just like in ordinary life, males can only give birth, they can only produce offspring of their own species. But Krishna is Aham Bija Pradapita. He's the father of everyone. And from the rains come all forms of life. And all the waters are his semen, concentrated vital energy. Right? If we think of water, it's kind of the essence of life. It's the essence of life in everything. We're alive and nourished and cleansed and functional because of water. Now here's how we can remember Krishna when we're on the toilet. So there's also an evacuating organ that gets rid of envy and misfortune and death and hell, just like our body is eliminating toxins. Yes? And there's the deity there, and the deity's named what? Mitra. What does Mitra mean? Friend. When our digestion is working, is it our friend? Yes? Then his jaws are Yamaraj. So whenever some heinous criminal is getting punished, that means they're getting crunched in Krishna's jaws. But affection is his set of teeth. Whenever we feel Krishna's affection, that's because he's smiling at us and showing his teeth. And his back is for immorality. So one time an airline pilot asked Srila Prabhupada, if God is all good, why is there evil? And Prabhupada said, evil is on God's backside. So the evildoers are also part of the body of Krishna. They're on the body of Krishna, but because they're on his back, they can't see him very well. So from his veins flow the great rivers and rivulets. So here we have, our illustrations here are done by Nadia Mani. Maybe you're familiar. She's a Kirtanir, Amala Harinam's wife, so she's illustrated a lot of these. So if we see, like yesterday, we were also seeing is it the Sammamish River? We were seeing the Sammamish River and then the creek there, yeah? So these are actually Krishna's veins. And if we think about the great rivers of the world, they are the borders of countries. They allow for human habitation. They dictate the migration of the animal herds. Right? They move goods from surplus to need. They are the messengers of Krishna's heartbeat. And on his bones are the great mountains. Our bones add structure and form to our body, just like the mountains have structure to the world. The protectors of society are on the Lord's arms. The great demigods headed by Indra, and anyone who's protecting society. Whenever we find those who are protecting society, they are on the Lord's arms. And modesty is the upper part of his lips. So one of Krishna's 64 qualities is that he's very shy. So Krishna's modesty, he's kind of like this. Right? And we look at the world, And like atheists look at the world, they don't see God. Why? Because he's shy. So he's kind of like an artist who hasn't signed his painting. And because of his shyness, the atheist can look and say, well, I don't see God. Hankering is his chin. So sometimes when little children want something, they stick out their chin, right? Can I have that? So what is Krishna hankering for? Our love, our service. Yes. On his heart is dharma, authenticity, right action. Whenever we are following dharma, we are on his heart. And there on his chest is truthful words spoken pleasingly. Anybody can speak harsh truth, but when you speak truth pleasingly, you are being embraced to the Lord's chest, right there with Dharma, and right there with Lakshmi Devi, who is also on his chest. On the Lord's bosom is also all the stars. So sometimes the Lord is wearing glittering, I don't see that he's got such glittering jewelry today. Sometimes he's wearing glittering jewelry. Sometimes he puts glittering jewelry on his beloved. Huh? When we see the stars in the sky, we're looking at his necklaces. And the ocean is his waist. So, of course, we're not very far from the ocean here. And, you know, the Lord likes to dance. And when you see the waves and the ripples in the ocean, that is the Lord dancing, and the 3 lines on his belly moving. And the passing ages are his movements. We measure time in the movements of the planets and the stars. And as we are going through our life, this is Krishna moving through our life. Now this one, every religious person understands, that it's Krishna's intelligence that has caused creation. Therefore we call it intelligent design. And one can see the intelligence of Krishna in everything, right? From the way that the plants are turning sunlight into food, from the different relationships in the ecosystem, from the structure of the cell, from the movements of the heavenly bodies. In everything we are seeing his intelligence. And there is also Brahma in the saintly persons. Whenever we are hearing from saintly persons, we are hearing from Krishna's intelligence. The moon, his mind is the moon. So the moon seems to be always changing. Like our minds are very changeable, yes? And we might think Krishna's mind is changeable. Sometimes he likes me, sometimes he doesn't like me. But although the moon appears to be changing, it's always constant. And Krishna's love and affection for us is also constant. And Rudra is his ego. So how do we know we have a false ego? We become angry. Yeah, we become defensive. Somebody insults us and of course people will say, well, I'm not really out of acting out of ego, I'm angry on principle. Maybe that's true sometimes, but not usually. So we could say, how is it that Krishna has an ego of Rudra? But there's also an anger of love, right? You see your child playing with something dangerous, you, hey, stop that! So that's Krishna's anger, is loving anger. This is a wonderful one to meditate on because it's very rare that we have a day where we're not in contact with birds. Either we're seeing birds or we're hearing birds. And birds are, I really like this one that Nadia did. So birds are part of Krishna's being an artist. So in what ways do birds show us that Krishna is an artist? Yeah? Their feathers, not just peacock's feathers, but any bird's feathers are often beautiful. What else? Yes? Graceful flying, good. What's another way that birds show that Krishna is an artist? The way they dance, okay. Their colors, okay. Yeah? The way they sing. Even the ones going caw, caw, that's kind of like the drums, you know. What about how they build their nests like great architects? Yes, so it's pretty hard to go a whole day without seeing or hearing birds. And so it's so easy to remember, oh, Krishna is an artist. And humanity is its residence. So something Srila Prabhupada talks about a lot, how only in human society is there a conception of God. So there are churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, and we call these places a house of God. Yes. The angels show his musical rhythm. So in every society, angels are always shown as musicians. Now this one's interesting. The demoniac soldiers are representing his prowess. Huh? Even the demons, they're getting their strength from Krishna. Then his thighs are the Vaishyas. That's the biggest bone in our body, of course, is the femur. And the Vaishyas, they are providing all of the food, all of the fiber, all of the construction materials. They're the ones who are supporting society, just like the thighs are supporting the body. And this is very interesting that the Shudras are under the protection of his feet, because those who work in this field are providing all the support and functionality of society, and because their mood is one of service. The basic mood in this Varna is that of service, and because of that, they have the special protection of the Lord's feet. In the Lord's navel is the sky, right? Lord Shiva explains that the whole universe came from the Lord's navel and looks like it wants to go back in again. The upper planetary systems are his chest. On his eyebrows are the regulated principles. So when we're doing the right thing, Krishna's doing this. And when we're doing the wrong thing, he's doing this. Then anger is his forehead. You know, sometimes when we're angry, our forehead gets kind of furrowed. So I think, when I'm angry, it's like I'm stuck in one of these wrinkles on the Lord's forehead. I'm there, but I can't see him very well. On his shadow is death. We can say, how can Krishna have a shadow? He's all effulgent. But when we turn from him, we create a shadow, and we experience death. And his smile is the illusory energy. So, of course, this is both Mahamaya and Yogamaya, and that all living entities are throughout his body. Okay, what's something that anyone would like to remember from here, from the Bhagavatam, before we go on to the Bhagavad Gita? What's one thing from here that you're going to meditate on this week? He's what? The moon is his mind. His mind is the moon. Very nice. Somebody else? Yes? What? What did he say? Okay, somebody else? Yes. The plants are his hair, the hairs on his body. Very nice. Somebody else? Yes? Mountains are his bones. Very nice. Somebody else? So you're going to pick material intelligence as the cause of creation? Yeah, but I don't want to, whatever. I want a specific. No, I want a specific. I want a specific from the Bhagavatam. I mean, that's very nice, but I'm looking for a specific thing from the Bhagavatam that you're going to meditate on this week. Which one of Krishna's face? Eyebrows, eyes, tongue, which one? How do you want all the food comes from his tongue or all rasa comes from his tongue? All the rasa is coming from his tongue. Excellent. Okay, and yes? Morning and evening sky are his clothes. Yes, very nice. Okay, somebody else. Yes, Ahalya. The stars are his necklaces. Excellent. Yes, Pitavas. Feet are his protection. Excellent. Somebody else. Yes. I'm sorry, what? The sun is his eye. Yes, excellent. Yes. Yes, Ahalya. His smile is the illusory energy. Okay, somebody else. Yes. Eyelids are day and night. Yes, somebody else. Yes. His jaws are Yamaraj. Whenever you read in the newspaper, this arsonist, this rapist, this murderer, they've gone to jail. That's Krishna going crunch, crunch. Yes? Humanity is his residence. Excellent. And this young girl in the orange jacket. Yes? Even the demon's power is from his prowess. Excellent. All right, now we're going to go on to the Bhagavad Gita. Woo. Okay, now you're seeing that part of my screen. It's not going to change. Okay, I'm going to have to stop share and share all over again. Okay. And by the way, the end of this, we have a special surprise for everybody. Okay. Okay, now we're going to go on to the Bhagavad Gita. And what I think is really interesting about this, we're going to be looking at chapters 7, 9, 10, and 15. Is at the end of chapter 6. What's the last verse in chapter 6? Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shradavam bhajate yomam samayuktatamo mataha. The best yogi is one who always thinks of me. So right after that in chapter 7, Krishna is going to say how to think of me. Now there's one class in Tokyo where one man asked Srila Prabhupada, I want to see God. I can't see God. And so Prabhupada said, if you want to see God the way that Krishna is recommending. And Prabhupada talked about all the things that we're going to talk about in this Bhagavad Gita presentation. So the same thing at the end of this, I'm going to be asking you which thing from this presentation, which specific thing you're going to be meditating on in the next week. Okay? All right. So first we're going to start with chapter 7. So here Krishna says he's Om. Now this is something he says 3 times. So we know that all of creation starts with Om. And even something like this microphone that looks like it's solid matter, the atoms and the molecules are moving, correct? When they're moving, they're creating a vibration. And that vibration is Om. But then Krishna says he's all sounds. There's one lecture where Prabhupada says if you don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you can find Krishna in all the sounds. Do you remember where all the sounds come from? What part of Krishna's form? His ears. His ears. So even you're hearing the trucks on the highway, right? Whatever, a dog barking, all of those are coming from Krishna's ears, and he is there in that sound. One lecture Prabhupada really talks about this beautifully. The seed, this is something else that Krishna says 3 times, that he is the seed. So we know that bhakti is like a seed. It's planted in the heart by Guru, and gradually it fructifies to produce fruits and flowers of love of God at the lotus feet of the Lord. So righteous romantic relationships, when we see loving husband and wife raising their children with affection, that is Krishna. The strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. When we use our strength to protect others, or we see others using their strength to protect others, that is Krishna. The heat in fire. Can we become aware of the heat in this room? You might say it's chilly, but there's some heat. If there wasn't any heat, we'd all be dead. I once heard a scientist say that the universe is a cold, impersonal machine, but that's not a fact. We associate heat with life, and we also associate heat with love. We talk about a warm embrace. When we become aware of the heat, we know that Krishna is full of life and love. And the fragrance of the earth. Where does the fragrance come from? What part of Krishna's body? His breath. Yes. Srila Prabhupada said, even if you don't read the scriptures, and even if you don't have a guru, you can find God in the fragrance of a flower. And how amazing it is that out of the same earth is coming gardenias, roses, jasmine, so many different kinds of fragrances. The penances of the ascetics. So what is penance? Penance means I've done something wrong and I rectify it. I put things back into balance. And Krishna says 3 things should be done even by great souls. Yes, charity, austerity, and penance, and sacrifice. Charity, sacrifice, and penance should be done by even the great souls. Now, the most basic kind of penance is an apology. So someone's done something wrong and they apologize. Is a genuine apology, is that easy or hard? It's hard. I saw some time ago on social media, one person had written, well, my authorities told me to give a genuine apology, so if any of you are so sensitive that you were offended by what I wrote, I'm very sorry for that. And the ascetics are those who dedicate their life to putting everything back in balance. Now, it's very interesting, right before the key verses in the Bhagavatam, the essence of the Bhagavatam, the Chaturshloki in 2nd Canto, chapter 9, the Lord says to Brahma, Tapo me hridayam sakshat. Penance, my, hridayam, heart, sakshat, directly. Penance is directly my heart. Atmaham tapaso, I am penance. Whenever we are doing genuine penance or we see others, we know that is Krishna. The life of all that lives. Can we become aware now of our sense of being alive? Our aliveness, just to feel, I am alive. And now to become aware that everyone else in this room has a sense of aliveness. Actually, this whole room is full of this sense of I am alive, and the world with its plants and trees and insects and bugs and everything and animals, they all have this sense of being alive. That sense of being alive is Krishna. The intelligence of the intelligent. So we all have some intelligence, and we all sometimes do intelligent things, right? Yeah? When I was 10, I had to do a school project. I wanted 3 puppets. So 2 for, one for each hand, and then was I going to manipulate the third one? So I set up this thing with my foot to manipulate the third puppet, and I thought, oh, that was smart, right? You know how that feels when you do something and you go, that was smart? That's Krishna. Now here again he's saying he's prowess. So you remember even the demoniac soldiers were his prowess? So how is that? What was the conversation that Hiranyakashipu asked a question of Prahlad about strength? What did he ask? Where do you get your superhuman power from, Prahlad? And what did Prahlad say? Same place, said, same place you do, Father, from God. Now, prowess is skilled strength. So we have strength that's to use for protection, and prowess, tejaha, that is skilled or honed strength. Now again, Krishna says he's the light of the sun. Actually, sunlight, right, is transformed into food by the plants. We eat the plants. We become nourished. In one sense, everything is a transformation of sunlight. How amazing is that? Everything we're seeing is actually a transformation of sunlight, which is Krishna, and the light of the moon. Okay? Cooling, soothing, reminding us of Krishna's romantic pastimes. Ability. This is an easy thing to meditate on. All of us now are displaying some ability. We're displaying an ability to sit, to see, to hear. You can try wiggling your fingers or your toes. And how are we doing that? Huh? Every time we're using some ability, that is Krishna. Anytime we marvel at anyone's ability, or even ordinary ability, we can get a sense that is Krishna. Now this one, of course, Prabhupada talks about a lot. Do any of you have water here? Anybody have a water bottle? Anyone has water here? You can get out your water? Anybody else have water? Okay. Try drinking some water. Especially if it's a hot day, we get all sweaty. That taste of water. Prabhupada said this Rasoham Apsukante applies to any liquid. Orange juice, right? Pineapple juice. They gave us rooibos tea downstairs. So many times Prabhupada would quote this and say, how can you not experience Krishna? Every time you are drinking anything, that is Krishna. So that's chapter 7. Going on now to chapter 9. The ritual. Yes? So it's funny to be here and talking about this. So now I'm visiting our oldest son. So he doesn't like to put wooden things in the dishwasher or like a measuring cup that has painted measurements on the outside. But in a few days I'll be visiting our youngest son, and he does put wooden things in the dishwasher. Right? They have different rituals. And these different rituals are expressions of their desire. Similarly, in our spiritual life, we have so many rituals, and these rituals are expressions of Krishna's desire, and Krishna and his desire are the same. And then the yagyas. So yagyas are actually celebratory ceremonies of connection, ways to connect. And there are specific ways that Krishna wants us to connect with him, and again, his desire and him are the same. Just like if I want to connect with our daughter, so I have to do a little ceremony. I have to get out a phone, and the phone has to be charged, and it has to be on a network, and then I have to put in the right number, and then it has to be the right time. And like right now she's in India, so I think she's probably sleeping right now. So I have to think, is this the right time? Right? Otherwise I won't make a connection. So these yagyas are also like that. Certain rituals are there, certain ways of doing it. Otherwise, if you say the mantra wrong, you come out with a demon, right? And the ways of doing this. And of course, Krishna, as I said, also has ways he wants to be connected with. Like some people, they want me to write them on Skype, some people on WhatsApp, some people on Telegram, some people on SMS, some people on Messenger, some people on email, some people I have to call on the phone. So Krishna has his specific ways of connecting, and those ways being his desire are also him. The offering to the ancestors. So Krishna is very happy when we respect the elders of the family and when we can continue the dharmic and righteous traditions of the family. And the healing herb. Does anyone remember what part of Krishna's body the herbs come from? His hair. And the potency comes from his nose. Yes, his breathing. So Krishna's breathing on his hairs creates the healing power of the herbs, which is also then Krishna. Now Krishna said he's all sounds, so certainly he is the sound of his name. So not only is he the yajna, the ceremony to connect, the rituals that make up the yajna, but he's also the ingredients that make up the yajna, and the Father. So in every religion, they understand that God is the Father. So all of us have a father, so I hope that most of you have good relationships with your father. Many of you here are fathers. Every day we're seeing so many fathers. So if we think about an ideal father, somebody who provides for the children, who gives them education, who gives them love, who gives them guidance, and if you could multiply that millions and millions of times, we'd have some idea of the perfect father of Krishna. But he's also the mother. So our bodies grow inside the body of our mother. They're nourished by the body of our mother. In the same way, our bodies grow in and are nourished by Krishna's body. And just like a mother will love her children, even if the children go bad, even the child becomes a criminal, the mother still loves the child. In the same way, Krishna still loves us, even if we become very misguided and deluded. And I am the support. So we often talk about, how do you support yourself? We talk about what job we do, or maybe our family is supporting us, our buildings are supporting us, our government is supporting us. But can all of these things crumble? Our job, our family, our building, can they all crumble? Yeah. But Krishna's support never crumbles. And the grandfather, so whenever we do a yajna, it's said that we are in Krishna's dynasty, Achyuta Gotra, and it says the grandfather is even more affectionate than the father. And the object of knowledge. So I read one scientist saying that when he studied a little bit of science, he became an atheist. When he studied a lot of science, he became a theist. The more that we study things in the world, the more that we see, Krishna is ultimately all of the objects. And the purifier, we do so many things to get purified. We take a bath, we brush our teeth, we clean our clothes, we clean our houses. Yes, right? We have proper medical treatment, maybe mental counseling. But all these things to purify us, the active ingredient in all of them, that is Krishna. And again he says Om. So Om can seem very simple. Oh, there's a simple syllable Om. How is that God? In the same way, we can think Krishna is very simple. And of course, Lord Brahma made that mistake. He thought, oh, Krishna's just a little boy. He's very simple. He's there eating with his left hand, the yogurt and rice in his left hand. And the other boys, they're not saying proper offering mantras, right? They're just saying, here, take a samosa. And sometimes they say to Krishna, there's a monkey. And Krishna looks away, and then they take all the veggies out of his samosa and put jasmine flowers in it. So Lord Brahma thought, how can he be God? So we may also think like that about Om. I am the goal. Prabhupada said, if our mind is disturbed, that is for want of a proper goal. So setting a goal, working for a goal, achieving a goal, that is Krishna. I am the sustainer. What sustains us? Air, temperature, water, food, our family, our friends. But ultimately, it's only Krishna who's sustaining us. So I am the master. So how many of you have ever had a really good boss? Anybody here ever had a really good boss? It's always a minority. So I've had twice. And it's really nice when you have a good boss. Then you feel that you can just relax and do your own service, and you know that someone is going to be taking care of everything. I am the witness. So this one makes people a little nervous. Oh no, Krishna's seeing everything that I do. But it's not like that. So you can try and experiment. So later today you can go to someone who loves you, and you can say, I'd like to talk to you for 2 hours about everything I did today. But Krishna cares. He cares about everything we have ever thought, everything we've desired, everything that we've done, not only in this life, but forever. And I am the abode. So how do we feel when we go home, right? Now I can relax, I can be myself. Krishna's everywhere, and we can always relax in him and be our authentic self. This is such a nice thing to think about whenever you go home, whenever you open the door to your home. Oh, Krishna is the abode. And I am the refuge. There's many places where Srila Prabhupada compares Krishna to an umbrella. One place is in Bhagavatam 3:21-17. Whenever you open your umbrella for the rain, whenever you open your umbrella for the sun, whenever you go under some kind of an awning, Krishna is the refuge. And the most dear friend. So hopefully all of us have at least one good friend. Yeah. That feeling of friendship, a sense of equality, a sense of I have your back, you have my back. We have shared activities. And multiply that to infinity and to get a sense of that is Krishna. Creation and annihilation. So we're fascinated by both of these, isn't it? Like little children build things with blocks just to knock them over. So the other day, one of my grandchildren was playing Jenga with a friend, and they were as excited as when the blocks fell over as they were when they were first playing the game. Yeah, I was reading about one woman who makes her livelihood by building structures out of blocks and then knocking them over with like a domino effect, and people pay to watch these videos. Right? Whenever we see anything created or destroyed, and that is Krishna. The basis of everything. So secularism means that I am defining my life and the life of the world, the story of the world, without reference to God. But actually, through our happinesses, our tragedies, our anger, our joys, our sadness, our experiences, our lessons, everything, actually Krishna is the basis. And the resting place, I really liked getting these pictures. I don't know how well you can see that top left one. Can you see that well? The lady leaning on her balcony. Yeah. This is something I think of whenever I lie down to go to sleep at night. Oh, Krishna is the resting place. And again he says he's the seed. So of course, in most human societies, seeds are the basic food. Wheat, rice, oats, corn, millet, barley, right? And then all our beans, legumes, even many of our spices, the concentrated energy of the plant. So whenever you're eating your puris or chapatis or rice or dal, that seed, that concentrated energy. We know there's that nice story of when Narada Muni was speaking to the shoemaker, and the shoemaker said, "Have you seen God?" And Narada said, "Oh, yes." And the shoemaker said, "Oh, what was he doing?" And Narada said he was what? Threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. And the shoemaker says, "Wow, my Lord is wonderful." And Narada said, "Why do you believe that I'm telling the truth?" And the shoemaker said, "If the Lord can put a huge tree inside of a little seed, why can't he put an elephant through the eye of a needle?" And give heat. So heat makes molecules dance. That's why if you hang your clothes outside on a hot day, the water molecules dance off the clothes into the air. And when you're cooking, the heat is making the molecules dance and changing the flavor and the texture of the food and releasing the food's juices. Similarly, when we come in front of Krishna, we start to dance and our nature changes and actually our hearts start to melt. I withhold and send forth the rain. One time when I was a child, we were driving down the street and it was raining on our side of the street and not raining on the other side. And I couldn't understand this. How can it rain just on one side of the street? Right? So when our oldest son was just about a year and a half old, we lived in a temple ashram, and there was a sink in the hallway. And so he would get a container, and he'd walk up to the sink. And he'd hold up his container, and he'd say, "Water, water, water." And so with the devotees, they would give him water. And then what would he do with the water? Pour it on the ground, and then what would he do? He would dance in it, right? And the devotees would say, "Why are you giving your child water?" And I said, "I'm not giving him the water, you're giving him the water." They said, "But he comes up to the sink like this, water, water." So sometimes Krishna turns on the tap, and sometimes he turns it off. I am immortality, and I am also death. So we are most frightened of death. Why? Because death is the death of this identity that we've poured ourselves into. When I first joined the Hare Krishna movement, there was a play we used to do called The Wrong Bank Account. So you know that you can put money in someone else's account if you know the number, right? Everybody knows that? You can't take money out, but you can put money in. So it was the story of this man, and every week after work, he would put part of his paycheck in this account. And then when he went to withdraw the money, there was nothing there because he had put it in the wrong account. So we are pouring our emotional, mental, physical energy into this identity, this body, this mind, our job, our family, our education, our knowledge, our creativity. And we don't like death because then that identity is over. But Srila Prabhupada talks about the cat. The mother cat is carrying the kitten in her mouth, or she's carrying the rat in her mouth. The rat is feeling fear. The kitten is feeling, oh, mommy is taking me to a better place. So the devotee sees that death is actually Krishna. And we know that beyond death, there's immortality that is also Krishna. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So we've looked at chapters 7 and 9. Now we're going to look at chapter 10. Beginning, middle, and end of all beings, our babyhood, our adulthood, our old age. Again, he says he's the sun that gives us knowledge, that gives us certainty, that frees us from fear, that allows us to function. Among stars, I am the moon. When we see the moon surrounded by stars, we can think about how Krishna's eating surrounded by his cowherd boys or dancing with the gopis. The mind. So generally, we yogis, we don't like the mind very much. Mind is very troublesome. But actually, Srila Prabhupada says there's nothing we can think of that is beyond Krishna's energy. Whatever we are thinking, feeling, desiring, that is all part of Krishna's energy. And we see the mind, yes, there is Krishna. The living force or consciousness. Can we all become aware that we are aware? We are aware of where our toes are. We are aware of where our ears are. Even with our eyes closed, we are aware of how far the room extends in front of us, to our sides and behind us. We are full of awareness. And now to become aware that everyone in this room is also aware. This room is full of awareness. Indeed, all life is aware. And that awareness is Krishna. That he is Lord Shiva. So I have a godbrother who's retired now, but he used to be the physician in the maximum security prison for the criminally insane. What a job, huh? So that's Lord Shiva's job in the universe, which he does out of mercy. Of bodies of water, I am the ocean, so deep, so vast, seemingly homogeneous, but full of varieties of life. Krishna also is deep, vast, and full of so many pastimes. And what part of Krishna's form is the ocean? His what? His waist, right? And you can see him dancing. And again he says he is Om. So Srila Jiva Goswami states, which Srila Prabhupada quotes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that the A is Krishna, the U is Radha, and the the Anushwar, that is all of us. And he is Japa. So Krishna is all yajna, all means of connection, but especially the chanting of his names. Why? We talked about with other yajnas, you have to do it just right, right timing, right pronunciation, everything, all the rituals. With chanting the holy name, you can do silently in your mind, quietly, out loud, by yourself, with a group, right? In the car, on the bus, in the train, Prabhupada said in the toilet room, anywhere we can connect with Krishna. The Himalayas that don't move like Krishna's love for us doesn't move. And the banyan tree. So you don't see many of those around here. But I'm sure you've all seen, everyone who's seen a live banyan tree? Bet you everybody here. Pretty close to everybody. So the banyan tree, you can't see where it begins, where it ends, and it spreads over a long distance. And the king, people are still fascinated by kings, not sure why. But, you know, Prince Charles is coronated and everybody's watching. How fascinating must Krishna be? And the lightning as a weapon. So sometimes we're full of doubts, misgivings, difficulties, struggles, and then there's a lightning bolt of understanding that cuts through all of our difficulty. The Surabhi cow that gives unlimited milk and fulfills all desires. There are many reasons that people have children, but of all of them, Krishna says he is that love between the husband and the wife. And he is Yamaraj. Whenever it looks to us like good people suffer or bad people are getting away with things, we know that behind all of that is Yamaraj. And what part of Krishna's body is Yamaraj? His jaws. Among subduers, I am time. So time wears away everything. Yes? But if we're dedicating this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment and this moment to Krishna, we do not get disturbed by this subduing aspect of time. The lion, when the lion roars, all the other animals run away. Similarly, when Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita, all the demons and the atheists run away. The wind, we know when we hang our clothes up outside, right? Then they smell so nice, and you have a musty room, and you open the windows, and everything becomes pure and clean. Parasaram, who roots out corruption in government. Whenever we find people taking care of corruption in leadership or in government, they are acting as the agents of Parasaram. So officiously is the makara. So I think Krishna has a makara at the end of his flute. You can see Ganga writing on a makara. Now there's no English translation for makara, so Prabhupada usually translates it as shark, sometimes as dolphin, sometimes as crocodile, the great beasts of the water. He is the Ganges, Mother Ganga, the spiritual water from beyond the universe brought by the toe of Vamandev, Padanakanira Janita Janapavana. The beginning, the middle, and the end, the top of the sandwich, the middle of the sandwich, the bottom of the sandwich, the beginning of a journey, the middle of a journey, the arriving at the destination, the coming back home, the start of a project, the completion of the project, the cleanup afterwards, the preparing for the festival itself, and taking care of everything at the end. The science of the self. So who is the self? Srila Rupa Goswami says that we have most of the qualities of God. I mean, to a minute degree, but we're very small, so that's okay. We are beautiful. We are youthful. We are geniuses. We are effulgent. Krishna says in the 6th chapter, text 20, that once we see ourselves, we relish and rejoice in the self, and we think there's nothing better than this. Then we're always fixed in truth and not disturbed by anything. That science of knowing the self is Krishna. He is Vada. Vada is discussions where you want to find out truth. You park your ego with the shoes. And you just want, there's no ego, and we just want to find out truth. Then there's Jalpa. Jalpa is when we're not looking for truth, we just want to be right. Right? I once had a discussion with a devotee over some time, and then I said, "What do you want?" And he said, "I want you to tell me that I am right." That's Jalpa. Then there's Vitanda. Vitanda is when you're not trying to find truth, and you're not trying to be right, you're just trying to prove the other person is wrong. So there's Vada, Jalpa, and Vitanda. And we all know what it's like when we're in Vada discussions, yes? That's the Tushyanticha, Ramanticha. We feel that exuberance when we're really looking for truth. Of letters, I am a. So if we say the sound we notice we're not using our lips or tongue or teeth. That's the basis of all language. Inexhaustible time, so good times come, good times go, but always there is Krishna. Death of everything, not just final death of the body, death of relationships, death of where we live, death of a job, death of an education, death of a project, death of an idea. So when Vamandev came to Bali Maharaj, and Bali offered him charity, and Sukracharya said, "Why are you giving him charity?" And Bali said, "Why not give him now everything he will take anyway at death?" So my mother had this philosophy. She gave away most of her possessions in her last year of life. She said, better to give with a warm hand than a cold hand. So if we're giving everything to Krishna at every moment, Krishna, my wife, my husband, my children, my family, everything belongs to you, then we are not disturbed when he takes what is already his. This I really like. This is the start before the start. You know how sometimes we start a project or a job or a relationship or something, and then we realize this actually started 3 months ago or 2 years ago when I met that person, when I read that book, when I went. And with the start before the start, we didn't know at that time that it was a start. So that start before the start is Krishna. Among women, he is fame. Women who are famous for their dharma. Sita, Kunti, Gandhari, that is Krishna. Shri is glittering splendor. The beauty of women. That is Krishna. Therefore should be handled with great care in service. Fine speech. As we mentioned, speech is coming from what part of Krishna's body? That's easy, come on. His mouth. And it is of the nature of? Truthful and pleasing. Speech is on his chest. Excellent. And coming from his mouth, it is like fire. Fire. And who is the master of speech? Sudarshan. That's in Bhagavatam 9.5.7. Right? Speech that illuminates, that cuts out ignorance, that purifies. When women are speaking like that, that is Krishna. Among women, I am memory. Prabhupada says when you can read a book and remember the essence, that is this kind of memory. Or when women can remember, this child likes this, that child likes this, my husband, I have to do this, that is Krishna. Meda. What is the famous verse about Lord Chaitanya that has the word Meda? Yes, Sumeda Saha. Those who are intelligent, they take part in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtana movement. In the third verse of Teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada says that sociologically speaking, women generally outnumber men in religious observances because they have a natural intelligence to accept the supremacy of the Lord. I think here we have about an equal number. But this natural intelligence of women to accept the authority of God and join in the Sankirtan movement, that is Krishna. Steadfastness, dhiti. When women are chaste and faithful, when they're fixed in their vows, that is Krishna. And patience. So how many of you here are mothers? How many mothers do we have here? Do you have to be patient to raise your kids? Yeah? Yeah? I say you have to have one of three things. Either you have to have patience, or you go crazy, or you give them to someone else to take care of, right? Now don't listen to this. Do you have to be patient with your husbands too? Yeah. That's a picture of Sukanya with Chaivana Muni. So that patience of women, that is Krishna. Poetry on the Gayatri, those of us who chant the Gayatri, that is God in the form of a poem. November, December, so at least in the northern hemisphere, this is our harvest season. And most cultures have big harvest festivals. What's our Gaudiya Vaishnava harvest festival? Govardhan Puja. And spring. So here in this area, we're just kind of starting to look at spring, aren't we? The daffodils are coming out. We're seeing some flowers on the bushes. It's just like starting. And after the cold and the dark of winter, when the trees come into their leaves and the flowers bloom, it's the youthfulness of the seasons. That is Krishna. And gambling among cheats. So this is interesting. Generally, when you're cheated, you don't know you're cheated until later. That's kind of the nature of cheating. Like one of my friends, she was scammed on the phone, lost $5,000 out of her account. Right? But in gambling, you know. Right? Let's sit down at the table, let's put out the cards, and I'm going to try to cheat you, and it's up front. The splendor, the wow factor. So Srila Rupa Goswami says, in order to experience any kind of rasa, there has to be some wonder. There has to be some wow, and that is Krishna. Victory. How do we feel when we're victorious? And adventure. Actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says we should see our whole life as an adventure with Krishna. When you're on an adventure, do you know how it's going to turn out? No. The strength of the strong. So Krishna mentioned, right, that he's strength free of passion and desire. He mentioned that he's prowess. We read from the Bhagavatam how the demoniac soldier's prowess is his prowess. So all strength, all power is from Krishna. He is punishment whenever the demons are getting punished, whenever the criminals are getting punished, whenever we are feeling safe walking down the street because criminals are being punished. That is Krishna. This one I really like. So we can't always win life's battles. Some things we lose. But have you ever lost one of life's battles but you kept your integrity? Like, okay, that didn't work out, but I never compromised my principles. Yes? And wasn't that a kind of victory? Wasn't that a kind? You just felt like, well, externally I've lost, But I don't feel like that because I never compromised. That's Krishna. Silence. So Prabhupada in this purport, this is Bhagavad Gita 10:38, he says, among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating, silence is most important because by silence, one can make progress very quickly. Whenever we're someplace where there's deep silence, there we can find Krishna. And wisdom, we talked about those flashes of intelligence. How much more so those flashes of depths of realization and understanding, that is Krishna. And again the seed, but here the seed of everything. Not only the seeds of plants, but the seeds of ideas, the seeds of projects, the seeds of relationships, the seeds of jobs, that is all Krishna. This is one I really like to meditate on. There's so many wonderful, beautiful, glorious things in the world. What to speak of how much there must be throughout all of the planets and the stars in the universe. And if you put them all together, they would just be a tiny spark of how glorious is Krishna. Okay, we've looked at chapters 7, 9, and 10. Now there's a few. We have a special surprise at the end, by the way. All right, we have a few in chapter 15. The splendor of the sun. We can think of the glory of sunrise, glory of noon, glory of sunset. The splendor of the moon reflecting on the water, looking like diamonds, the moon hanging like a pearl in the sky. And the splendor of fire. Think of how much we all like to watch the splendorous fire. Keeping the planet in orbit. Yes, so normally when we're in a vehicle, we feel the movement, yeah? And somehow, how is it that Krishna is making this whole earth move and we don't even feel it? What an incredible pilot he is. The moon that brings the different flavors to the vegetables. The fire of digestion. So just like yesterday I ate some rice, and now it's become my ear. Right? I ate a tomato, it turned into my nose. How does that happen? That's Krishna. And going with the prana, right? Moving the food from our mouth to our esophagus, to our stomach, to our small intestines, throughout all of our veins. Now we're at 15:15. Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, text 15. So this was a favorite verse in our family. Whenever anybody lost something, we'd say, just chant 15:15. Right? Mata, I can't find my other sock. We'll just chant 15:15. And then they go around the house saying, Sarvasya chaham ridisani visto matas matirganam apohanam cha. Oh, I found my sock. So once I was traveling, and one devotee said to me, Urmila, I can't find my phone. And I said, well, just chant 15:15. So she went around the room saying, 15:15, 15:15. All right, so I told you we have a special surprise. So are we ready for that? Let's turn off all the lights. And you don't want my face up there. Okay, there's no sound, Prabhu. Should have it louder. Much louder. It should still be louder.
Full screen.
I am the source of all that is here. rest upon me like pearls rest on a thread. The taste of water, the life of all that lives. The nourishing like the sun always gives. The sound beneath the ability in man. Of all that exists, the best is what I am. When life of all life, the heat of the fire, the strength of the strong, free of lust and desire, the seed of existence, the prowess of man. These are some more ways to see what I am, what I am. These are some more ways, these are some more ways, these are some more ways to see what I am. I'm seated in a world of all living beings, and I'm the beginning, middle, and end of all things. The light on the sun, whichever follows its course, and in utter sparkle my splendor, from utter sparkle my splendor to spring, to spring. I
Okay, is this going to work? Nope. All right, I'd like to ask which of these. So that music is by Mahatma, and the video was put together by Narada Dasi in the UK. So I'd like to ask, what would you like to meditate on from the Bhagavad Gita presentation? Yes? Of all the lights I am the sun. Excellent. Somebody else?
The resting place.
Resting place. That's such a nice one. Yes. Somebody else? Yes? Taste of water. Strength of the strong. The what? Splendor of the fire. Huh? Among beasts I am the lion. That's going to be a hard one to meditate on because you're probably not going to run into very many lions. Ability in man. All the sound. All the sounds. It says, I am the sound and ether and the transcendental chant. Which one? Transcendental chant. Okay. Huh? There's no banyan trees here either. No lions walking around Seattle and no banyan trees in Seattle. That's going to be a hard one for you to meditate on this week. Now, if you were in Delhi, then you could find the banyan trees, not the lions, though. Yes. We have Ahalya. Yes? Yes, that taste of any liquid. Yeah. Okay, somebody else. Yes. Om. Yeah, so many of the mantras we're chanting every day have Om in it. Yes. Beginning, middle, and end. Or do you want the start before the start? You want the start before the start. That's only one you can meditate on looking backwards. Then you think, oh yeah, that was the start. That one you can do. All right, we're with you on that one. No lions, no banyan trees, but transcendental chant, you can do that. Jai. All right. Abode. Well, as soon as you open your door, or even if you're not home, right? If you're out somewhere and you're just like, Krishna's here. He's here with me. I can feel that I'm with him in my abode in this moment. Yes, yes. The refuge. Fire digestion. What a nice thing to meditate every time we eat, right? Yes. Remembrance. And isn't it interesting that he's also forgetfulness? So the book I taught yesterday, Career Dharma, my co-author Rukmini, she likes to say, even when we're forgetting Krishna, it's only Krishna's ability to help us forget him. How amazing is that? Okay, anybody else? Anyone who hasn't said something yet? The wind purifiers, yes. Immortality and death, excellent. The ritual. Time. Do you want time as subduer or inexhaustible, or both? You've got too many. And I can remember them all this week. It's good to pick, try to pick one per day. Now after a while, as you pick one per day, you can start doing more and more and more of them. So pretty soon, like the way we've arranged the book so you can it's not a book you have to read from start to finish. I mean, you can if you want to. It's not going to go, no, don't read me from start to finish. But you can open anywhere, and you just read a little paragraph. And those of you who have kids, some of you can read with your kids. I know a lot of schools that are using this as part of their science curriculum, in their language arts curriculum, and just read a little paragraph. And how am I going to meditate on this today? Now, besides what I talked about today, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we also have a section here of Krishna's 64 qualities, how you can find Krishna's 64 qualities in the world. Like that Krishna is ever youthful. Well, that you can remember whenever you see the exuberance of youth, whenever you see the springtime also, which he says he is. So I want to thank you all very, very much. Do any of you have any big questions that you'd like to ask overall before we end? About remembering Krishna in everything in the world? Yes?
My question is that if everything, everywhere Krishna and everything is in Krishna, so why people used to say that if we are going to die and we say Hare Krishna, so Krishna will come.
Yes?
Say anything, leaf or wind, anything, so why Krishna will not come?
Oh, but you have to see it in relationship to Krishna. That's a very good question.
Yeah, during the
The
death
point
time.
is, the point is our consciousness. Just like, so sometimes I go shopping at Loy Bazaar in Vrindavan. This time I only went once. I was with my grandson. I said, what do you want to see in Vrindavan? He said, well, I want to see Loy Bazaar. I said, once only. So anyway, we're walking down the main road. I don't even know if the road has a name. And so people are seeing us, and the shopkeepers are saying, Hare Krishna! What are they actually saying? Come buy my stuff. They're not actually saying Hare Krishna, are they? I'm just a little jiva, and I can understand that they're not trying to chant the name of the Lord. They're trying to say, come buy my stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a question of our awareness. If as you're leaving your body, you're aware of Krishna in the breeze, and you're aware of Krishna in the sun, and you're aware of Krishna in your sense of still being alive, which doesn't stop at death, and you're aware of Krishna as death, you're going to Krishna because you're fully aware of Krishna everywhere. Now, if you're just thinking about a leaf as a leaf, that's something else. It depends on you. Therefore, we have all this instruction in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam. Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, chapter 20, that Maya exists only within the mind. Illusion is, this world is also the body of God. Do you follow? We don't see it as the body of God because then we can't try to exploit it. If I want to exploit something, I have to objectify it. It's very difficult to exploit something that you understand is alive and has feelings like you do. That's very difficult. Like people who are eating meat. They have to think the animals are just objects. As soon as you understand this is a sentient being, it's very difficult. This planet is actually Bhumi Devi, and the whole universe is the body of God. Everything is ultimately filled with His awareness. Even matter, which isn't aware of itself, is still filled with Krishna's awareness. What does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita 6:30? For one who sees me everywhere and who sees everything in me, I am never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So we don't have to make much of an effort. Really, it doesn't take much of an effort. Like there's two parallel lines, and if you move 1 millimeter, you end up in another place. Right? I was just at a nice talk by my daughter-in-law's father in Hawaii, where he was saying how Krishna consciousness is not that difficult. If we just see, the wind that's moving the trees, that's Krishna. The light of the sun coming in the window, and meditate how that's Krishna, and feel that that's Krishna. Have an experience, this light is Krishna, the wind is Krishna, my sense of being alive is Krishna. My turning on my phone is Krishna touching with his nails. These trees I'm walking in, that Krishna's hairs, how beautiful is Krishna's hair. How beautiful must each hair on Krishna's eyebrow be. So as you sing this plant, and how beautiful must each of Krishna's, every one of Krishna's hairs must be, and you get in that consciousness, then you won't even experience death as death.
Yeah, but good things is okay. We can see how beautiful Krishna went. But if any terrorist is killing me, so how I act like on that way? How I see Krishna is killing me like that? Because I know he's a terrorist. I know he is not Krishna.
We discuss a lot of this in the book, actually, how the so-called bad things, like we talked about how Krishna's breath is the smells. But bad smells are also loving. How do I know that something is infectious or impure? Primarily through the smell. When things die and decay, they give their fertilizer for new life. You know, I see according to my particular perspective, this is bad and this is good. But if I see that Krishna is the basis of everything, now, of course, if I'm doing evil things and I'm on Krishna's back and I can't see him. But if I see that Krishna is the basis of everything and that he is my best friend, then I will see that everything is to help me get closer to him and everything is to help me come to pure joy. Is that all right? Okay, so thank you very, very much. I think we sold like half the books yesterday, and this is my last time coming here. So if you'd like a book, we have still some Career Dharma left from yesterday, and we have some Krishna meditation. So Murari can take care of you there at the table. I'm happy to sign them for you. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you everyone for attending the lectures. So we want more of Mataji's lectures, but this is the last day, so we'll miss her association. So it is almost a full hall yesterday and today, and there are books, both Career Dharma and Krishna Meditation. Mataji spent 6 years to work on the Career Dharma book. Please do, if you missed the class yesterday, it is online, you can watch online as well. And you can get signed by Mataji also. And thank you so much, Mataji, for coming to Seattle. Even though you came to visit your family and spending time with us, we are very fortunate. So let's chant 3 times Hari Bol for appreciation for Mataji. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.